It's good to be here. As always, I feel like I'm coming back home. The place where I even get emotional just to think of. This is the place that I started learning spiritism. And it was through a lot of studying. I still study with the group on Sundays and on the Genesis. And part of what I'm going to bring to you today is what I'm learning, right? So I'm no expert in spiritism, but I can tell you that everything that I learn, I like to share. And I do that in my professional life as well. I'm a product designer, developer on the IT space. I've been working with artificial intelligence for over 2 years now, creating ideas, creating solutions. And in that process, we learn how to be careful. We learn how to use this technology with ethic, which aligns very well the artificial intelligence, like the progress of technology, the progress of science. And the ethical part of it, how to use it for the betterment of humanity, is the moral side, which is also aligns very well with the teachings based on Allan Kardec. All right, so again, so let's talk about the law of progress. So this is where Kardec teaches us, based on the spirit's answers that he asks, that the law of progress is inevitable. I'm going to go through this. So what I'm doing over here, this is going to be a very interactive presentation. I want to give you the opportunity to see how artificial intelligence works, and I will bring some context of the teachings of spiritism. Who's here, just by a show of hands, have played with ChatGPT? Okay. Who has not? Just, all right, so come on in. All right, so I will also explain that. So let me see if I can, this is working. I need to test, okay. So the first thing that you think of, you can think of artificial intelligence as a very fast way of processing information. So you can think of that before, like this single computer would process commands that I would input into it. Technology has evolved so much that you now have computers teaching computers, hundreds of computers, and they teach each other very fastly. And technology also is becoming very small, right? So you have a lot more power. So you can think of how the early computers were big, right? And now my smartphone is faster and better than this notebook that I'm using. So this is just to give you a sense of how science and technology evolves. So artificial intelligence is here to change, and it's, in a way, it's scary, because you start seeing a lot of people thinking how to create other things. So you can, I'm gonna go through that. I'm not gonna start spoiling the talk, but there's some questions. The first thing that comes to mind is there's so many questions. One of them is, how will AI help solve systemic problems? That was few of my questions that I had. How will we become more or less intelligent? Will we become better or worse? What should we hope for the future? What do you hope for the future? Right? There are two sides of this perspective. You have the optimistic side, and the doomsday side, right? So AI will create robots, and robots will dominate humanity. I happen to have a very optimistic perspective on the evolution of this technology, and that's because of spiritism. And that's where I came to the law of progress, by reading the Spirit's book. A number of laws in this book. If you're not familiar with if you never read the Spirit's book, right? There's one chapter that's dedicated to the law of progress. And I'll bring some of this, but I'll give you like a quick summary of what he says, right? And this is all based on the original text, which I will show you the difference, right? This book was written first published in 1857. So this is almost 200 years ago, right? And there were no automobiles. Probably electricity was just starting to be researched. No computers for sure. Right? There's so many things that Kardec asked the spirits, and the spirits answer without revealing what the future would become. But it gives examples of how this planet would evolve, and gives other examples how other planets have evolved and what we should aim for. So one of them is that society evolves intellectually and morally, right? That's the only way. So you cannot only be very smart. You also need to have compassion. You also need to think about how to use your intelligence towards society, not only to yourself. The progress is universally inevitable, which means that everyone will evolve. Every planet will continue to evolve. Struggles drive humanity forward. And that was interesting because during the study today, there was a message, coincidentally, about that. And I'll just read the message here. This message was brought by Paul in Galatians 6:7. And he says, "For whatever a man may sow, that he also will reap." Which means that what you plant, you harvest, right? And that labor, that struggle is part of it. So struggle will drive humanity forward. That's the third point of what we can learn from the original text. And the last one is moral development prevents harm. So this is where, just to solidify what I was saying about, you cannot only be very intelligent, you also need to develop your moral side. All right, so in the Spirit's book, there's a question. How can intellectual progress lead to moral progress? And the Spirit's answer, by making good and evil understandable, for then humans can choose between them. So that shows free will. This is not going to be computers telling you what to do. You have the free will, right? The same way we have the free will to choose which thoughts we select. And the development of free will follows the development of intelligence and increases the responsibility of humans for their acts. Science, technology comes before people can understand. Through struggles, you become better. Right? How to use that knowledge. And he continues on question 7 and 8, 9. Will progress someday unite all of Earth's people into a single nation? And it explains, not into a single nation, because we all have differences, different cultures, different upbringing. However, charity, on the other hand, knows nothing of geographical latitudes and does not differentiate people by their color. So again, bringing the entire humanity through charity, through helping each other. It's very similar to what Jesus has been saying to us, right? What we learn from his gospel. But let's ask ChatGPT, and this is where I have the split screen. The folks watching us on the internet, I'm not sure if they're going to be able to see that, but I can ask ChatGPT, what is artificial intelligence? Can computers be smarter than humans? What is the future of these computers? How will AI help humanity? These are amazing questions. Right? And I'm going to use, this is a very important context. I'm going to use the general ChatGPT. So you can think of when you go to a doctor and if I go to a dentist, I should not ask the dentist something about psychology, something about mental health. Unless you go to John's office. Has a lot to say. But, so when you ask something to a large language model or an AI, you need to provide some context. You cannot ask the ocean about a grain of sand, right? You're gonna get a very, very open answer. So you want to find an island and ask what's in the island. And that's what I've done for the exercise today. I took the original text in French by Allan Kardec, and I took the actual photos of the literature, so the 5 books, right? So they took the photos, they created a PDF, and I uploaded the PDF, which converted to text, and now my island is within the context of Spiritism's scripture. So you can see here, I have the Allan Kardec original text, and I have the ChatGPT ocean, right? So I can ask ChatGPT, how will AI help humanity? All right, I'm gonna copy and paste because I'm a very slow typer. I'm from the 80s. All right, and again, I don't know what's gonna answer, but we'll hope, we'll cross our fingers, we'll say something good, right? All right, so it's pretty much saying, I'm not going to read the whole thing. It's pretty much saying that it will help with healthcare and medicine, will help with accessibility. So you will see some of the examples that I'm going to show at the end, how brain implants is already helping people with disabilities to control computers. So we're talking about tetraplegic patients without any movements whatsoever, and they can control faster than we can with that brain, right? What else? Education, right? It'd be nice to see everyone having equal access to education, not the privileged ones. Workforce automation, this becomes kind of a scary topic because, we're all gonna lose our jobs. Yeah. We're gonna lose our jobs. We're gonna make our jobs more productive just so we can have time to learn other things. That's the optimistic view, right? You may choose what to pick. Scientific research, social good. So this is good answer, right? And it's very generic. All right, so as I was saying, the evolution of computers have been evolving. This is not that AI started 2 years ago and all of a sudden, exploded. No, they needed good computers to teach other computers and process data fast, right? For the past 30 to 20 years, with the advancements of the internet and how to process big data. So this is good. We need it this time. But the common people, we didn't have access to this type of technology, and now we do. And what are we going to do with this technology, right? So this is pretty much how artificial intelligence works. It's a way of processing data fast. So it gets an input from the user, and the user asks a question, and the computer asks another computer, and the other computer says, we already have the answer. Here it is, right? And gives back in the common sense, it's just a chat window, right? But you have lots of computers doing this process at the same time. That's why it's so fast, it's fascinating, right? Okay, so that's artificial intelligence. Now I'm gonna bring some of the things that I start asking my GPT about what you learned when I uploaded the Allan Kardec's books. And one of the things one of the answers that I found was from the Genesis book, which we study every Sunday, and everyone is invited, was about the formation of properties of the perispirit, right? Kardec highlights the distinction between the nature of perispirit on different planets, including Jupiter. First question, is there life in Jupiter? Is there other spirits in Jupiter? In 1857, he was saying there was, right? And he goes beyond. On Jupiter, the perispirit is infinitely more quintessentially perfected than on Earth, more ethereal, more subtle, reflecting the higher degree of moral and intellectual advancement on Jupiter. Right, so I start thinking, I want to ask ChatGPT about Jupiter, right? And it goes on. So everything in the universe is connected. Everything forms a chain. Everything is subject to the grand and harmonious law of unity, from the most physically dense to the most spiritually purified. Fascinating, right? So just to summarize, the law of progress, as we evolve intellectually and morally, we move to better places. This won't happen in your next incarnation, right? It is like time is something that we have because we have clocks, right? So we don't have, we are eternal. God doesn't think about 24 hours. 24 hours is the cycle of Earth. What is the clock for, I don't know, for the Milky Way? Running around, I don't know, another nebulous. No idea. We don't want to think about that. We do not have the processing power to understand that yet, but we will. Right. All right, so let's do this. I want to play with this, and I want to set the context. I don't want to use the ocean of ChatGPT. I want to bring context into Allan Kardec's books. And this is the GPT that I use to upload all the books. And I don't know, so I can ask about Jupiter. How is Jupiter different than Earth, according to Allan Kardec? I have no idea what it will answer. So, but I am certain that it will answer based on the scripture of Allan Kardec, because it's searching my knowledge, it's searching the books. In Allan Kardec's Spiritism, Jupiter is seen as a very different world from Earth, according to the Review Spirited and the books of the Spirit's book. Jupiter is portrayed as a more advanced planet inhabited by spirits of higher moral and intellectual order compared to those on Earth, right? So this is kind of confirming what I said, right? But that's something that I didn't read before. I would love to read now. I can make this bigger. The role of suffering. Earth is a place where suffering and challenges play a major role in the moral evolution of its inhabitants. On Jupiter, suffering is either minimum or absent, as the spirits there have already progressed beyond the need of such trials. So, I don't know how well you study Spiritism, but our planet is a planet of trials and expiation. So we are here. Just the simple fact that we need a body and we need gravity to drag on Earth is because we are evolving, right? So we are here. Like, suffering will make us better. So much to say. This is wonderful for us to. You want to say something?
No, just ask a question. When you restrict it to the information of the 5 books of Kardec, does it go beyond that as well, or does it restrict itself purely to that and nothing from outside?
That's a good question. So the question is, when I restricted this large language model to the content of Kardec's books, does it go beyond that? No, but because it's a large language model, it creates a different, it answers in a way that you can understand. It uses language to interpret text. I can ask ChatGPT can you answer this like Shakespeare? And we'll use Shakespeare's vocabulary, right? But the message the essence will be the same, because I'm contextualizing within this scope.
Marcelo, can you read the first paragraph so that people online could? The first paragraph, just read it. Jupiter would be different.
Jupiter, this one?
Yeah.
Jupiter would be different, aligned with the higher level of its inhabitants. This might suggest that a less material existence and more spiritualized physical forms. The essence is there, but it's explaining differently. Or I can even say, can you explain this to someone who has a 9th grade reading level? Right? I use that a lot when I'm creating content for products, for websites, because we cannot expect people to have an advanced vocabulary. So try to tone down the voice and the tone of the content. I really need to shift gears here because I'm gonna go through this, right? And so this is the part of the Spirit's book, and what I'm doing over here by referencing the books is to encourage you to go and read. And I'll tell you, it is somewhat at least I'm going to speak for myself. It's not motivating to read by yourself. It's much better when you're in a group study that you can exchange ideas. I didn't understand this, but here it is. With ChatGPT or the large language model like this, if you know how to use the basics, it can explain to you better, so you can manage to learn on your own if you don't have the time to join our study group. So it goes to all the globes spinning through space inhabited, and the answer is yes. And the contrary to what Earth dwellers believe, they themselves are far from being first in intelligence, goodness, and perfection. That's what the spirits was saying regarding this question, 55. The spirits heart, so this is important for us to understand. That's why I wanted to bring this as well. The hierarchy of spirits according to Spiritism. We have 3 orders. We have the imperfect spirits, we have the good spirits, and we have pure spirits. So Jesus being an example of the first order, right? And on the third level, the predominance of matter over spirit, evil prevails. So this is where we are, right? As we evolve intellectually and morally, we may evolve in other worlds where you will be surrounded by good spirits, predominance of spirits over matter, desire for good. And this is where the planetary transition is happening right now with Earth. And the good thing about this is, like, the advancements of technology, it's a sign, which we'll read after. It's also in Genesis. It's a sign the time has come, right, that science will evolve so fast and exponentially that will force us to think about ethics, to think about the struggles, and then that struggle will lead to a better Africa, will lead to a better medicine, will lead to less selfishness and greed, right? So this will happen, right? We need to evolve intellectually, and then we evolve morally. All right, this was in the Spirit's Review, and it talks about Jupiter. I'm going to go through this just so we can, but just so we have a kind of a bring down to Earth, the size of Jupiter. So this is Earth here, and that's Jupiter. All right, and doing this text over here in the Spirit's Review, the section name is Jupiter and a few other worlds. It explains that Mars, the moral level of Mars, is less advanced than Earth. Right? The spirits there are of the lowest moral order, predominantly belonging to the 9th class, right? Which is part of that 3rd water group. Earth, we are intermediate on a moral level. Then Mercury, slightly more advanced than Earth, right? The majority of spirits are still imperfect, but there is a greater prevalence of morally good spirits compared to Earth. I'm not saying this. This is all like over 150 years ago that Kardec was noting.
This is all, this isn't AI, this is from your, what we're reading now is...
This is from the Spirit's Review of 1858. Nothing to do with AI, right? Then Saturn is more advanced than Earth, right? With predominance of morally superior spirits. And Jupiter, which again was mentioned, highly advanced world, both morally and intellectually, right? Now, And just to contextualize, we can fit over 1,400 Earths in Jupiter.
Wow.
Just so we can understand. But in my mind, this is a message of hope, right? Because we are always thinking, when we watch TV and we watch the Instagram, there's like despair everywhere, right? But there are other worlds that can fit 1,400 times the number of highly evolved spirits, and they are very close to us, right? I see this as a message of hope, right? However you interpret, right? I already did this. I mentioned that I was going to do with the ChatGPT, but I want to evolve. How will AI help humanity, right? So you can think of different architecture, but when you see like beautiful buildings, yes, it will help defy physics as we know it, right? It will create more, better buildings, right, for society, but also help bring water to the deserts, right? So you can see how science will help us, will help the medical field, like the cure of cancer. We'll bring education to Africa. We'll bring the infrastructure to that continent. We'll help our children, right, educating themselves. But it could also bring some struggles, right? Can AI destroy humanity? What do you hope for the future? Every time we have something, a tool in our hands, there will be people with good hearts that will take that tool and give the water to someone who's thirsty. But will also be people that will think about, how can I make more money? How can I don't care for other people. So that's the part of the struggle that will lead to moral evolvement. Right. I want to talk about a little bit how science is, and this is actually something that I've been thinking a lot in my line of work, is how we'll be able to use technology to help people with disabilities interacting with computers. And by adding an implant to the brain, now you can create an input. So think of the eyes, the ears, the hands, the dexterity as a middle limb that you use to interact with the computer. With this advancement, someone will be able to connect directly from the brain to the computer. So if you don't have an arm, or if you cannot move your arms, you don't need the mouse anymore. You can just send a command. In my line of work, this is very interesting, because now I'm removing the middleman, right, the middle organ, and I'm sending the interaction directly to the computer much faster. I'll show you a video here. This is Nolan Abo. He is the first patient that has the Neuralinks implant. And I'll show you a video of him playing a video game with his brain in comparison to the other person who's playing with him. There's no audio on this, but you can see on the right here is Nolan playing the video game just with his brain, and he cannot move his body. Right? This is good. This is hope. Let me see if I can do that. So here's some Neuralinks concepts. Enhanced cognitive abilities, right? We can do direct brain communication, mental health support, so you can think of, detect how someone is feeling depressed. You can start interacting, like the computer, or there is a health line. So obviously there are privacy concerns that you need to think through that, but those will be solved. learning new skills. Like since you can process information much faster, you can read a book, an entire book, much faster than you can. Because now you're getting loads of information, not getting word by word through your vision limb. Right? And just to wrap up in the next 5 minutes, I want to touch on this chapter, which, by the way, if you want to join us, this will be the next chapter. I believe, hopefully in the next couple of weeks, we're going to start on this chapter. The time has come. And in the Signs of Times section, it talks about, I'm going to read this passage from Arago, and then I can run ChatGPT again, because I had no idea who Arago was. It's fascinating. So when you hear that humankind has arrived at a period of transformation, and that Earth must ascend within the world hierarchy, do not see anything mystical in these words, but to the contrary, the fulfillment of one of the great unavoidable law of the universe, against which all human ill shall break. So, to unpack, we will evolve. It's inevitably. But our ill, our limitations will be broken, because our heart will speak louder. Right? So just to see this is what I had over here. I copy the text that you read over here, and I ask, who is Arago in the following text, this text over here? So I can ask over here. And keep in mind, I'm not in the ChatGPT ocean, I'm within the Kardec's context. Searching the knowledge, Arago, if I'm pronouncing correctly, refers to Francois Arago, a prominent 19th century French scientist and politician who was known for his work in physics, astronomy, and his interest in new scientific phenomena like magnetism. So I'm not sure if he tells when he passed, but Arago passed a few years before the first publication of the Spirit's book, which means that he was probably he was in life or participating in some of these very recent studies back in the 19th century, and then he returns as a spirit to leave a message to Allan Kardec. Okay? I want to also give you a quick summary. Intellectual and moral progress is the only way, right? Progress is universally inevitable for every place in the universe. Struggles drive humanity forward. Moral development prevents harm. And I want to give you some tips to how to use AI responsibly, right? Use AI to promote ethical conversation. Avoid using AI to spread misinformation and harm others. So you may choose what to share, right? Oh, the robots will kill society. If you don't know where the source is coming from, if that's just a speculation, don't share it. Use it responsibly. Focus on learning and self-improvement. I'm adding the self over here. Use AI as an opportunity for learning, not just for entertainment. That's what I did with the Kardec's text. I took the original because there's so many translations, so many interpretations. You know what? I'm kind of tired of this interpretation. Let me take the original instead of just keep asking Carlo, well, what's the meaning of the French text when Kardec wrote that? So I used that, right? I wasn't tired of you, Carlos. understand AI's limitations. This is about the ocean, right? Don't ask the ocean. Try to minimize the context of what you want to know, and foster positive communication. Ask thoughtful, morally considerate questions. Use it as a force for good in your lives. And I'll show you an example of how I've been using ChatGPT, right, in my own moral involvement. And this is a template that I like to use for creating a prayer. I have very contextualized topics. I want to know the purpose. I want to give the large language model, who is it for? What's the tone, if it is comforting, if it is thankful, if it is uplifting? What is the length, right? If I want to a short or a brief or a long prayer, and if there are any special requests. And I have written one here that I have not ran. I just wrote it before the last minute, that I want to put this, and I will use that prayer because I'm confident that it will do good because I'm not in the ocean, right? So I'm just copy this. And I'm going to ask the model to create a prayer. And I'll invite you all, as I read the prayer, to close this talk. It's rather long, though. I want to first of all thank the Conscious Living Spiritist Group for inviting me to speak here and share what I've been exploring. And I want to thank God, or however you call your God, in this agnostic way. I'm calling creative of wisdom and understanding. We humbly bow our hearts in gratitude for the blessings you bestow upon us. We thank you for the light of knowledge that guides our path, and for the opportunity to learn from the teachings of Allan Kardec. Through the law of progress, we are reminded of the continuous evolution of humanity, guided by your divine love and wisdom. We are especially grateful for the Conscious Living Spiritist Group, a beacon of unity and enlightenment. It really is. Where we come together to explore the depths of Spiritism and its relevance in our modern world. Today we reflect on the relationship between the divine law of progress and the advance in artificial intelligence. May we use this knowledge with responsibility, always aligned with your laws of love and charity for the betterment of all humankind. As we step into the future, let our hearts remain open to the infinite possibilities ahead, trusting in your guidance and the progress of humanity towards higher spiritual and intellectual realms. Let us walk in harmony, uplifted by the certainty that together we are building a world of greater understanding, compassion, and peace.
Amen.
Amen. How do you use technology? It depends on your moral willingness. Right? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.